And welcome into the Wednesday edition, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, brought to you by First Horizon, Big Bank Muscle, Small Bank Hustle. Visit firsthorizon.com/get it all. We are live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios. Home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership with a buzz is always about great service. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you. Joe Rexrode, good morning. How we doing?
Doing all right. I didn't even realize it was out or if heard much about it, which is weird, but I saw Thunderbolts last night.
How was it?
It was good.
Was it?
Yeah, I really liked it. And like Rotten Tomatoes said like it was like 88%. So I was like, okay, I usually check that. Don't always agree with it, but it's like usually gives you a little idea. But apparently it's not doing well, huh? I guess.
I think they have screwed up Marvel so badly since Endgame that people are just like, I don't care anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
But my dad also saw Thunderbolts and said it was good.
Yeah. I mean, I'm invested for the next one. It was entertaining. It was good, man. I was happy with it.
Good.
Yeah.
It's good to know. I mean, I have to actually see this one.
Yeah. No, it's, yeah. I think it's worth checking out, and it's worth, it's a theater movie.
Yeah.
Obviously with all the stuff, all the things. So yeah, I would recommend it.
Good to know. I mean, I have to get in there before the thing gets out of the theater.
Yeah. I mean, there was like 6 people in theater last night. We thought, we better get these seats before we go, and yeah, it was like, we have our own row.
And pick your own section night.
Yeah.
In the movie theater.
Ate a lot of popcorn, as you'd be surprised to find out.
Nice. Very nice. Ian Safar, how we doing? What's going on?
Doing great. Yeah. Not too familiar with the Thunderbolts versions of the Marvel here.
The new Avengers.
Okay.
Yes.
Essentially.
Oh, yes.
All right.
So, yeah. And it's got some
sounds intriguing.
Characters from previous movies coming together, including the what's his name? Bucky, the Winter Soldier.
Yes.
Okay. Cool. We'll have to look more into
Julia Louis-Dreyfus, basically like reprising her Veep role, but just in terms of like evil global warfare.
No, I can get into that.
Yeah.
Fun.
Ian's sold.
Bring Elaine in here. I'm all in.
Ian's
Yeah,
all
man.
in.
Yeah, man.
We got a lot to get into on the program today. Paul Kuharsky will be with us in the second half of the show. We'll get into all things Tennessee Titans with him. We got a lot of Titan stuff to get into before Kuharsky even gets here. So we'll take your thoughts on all that. 615-737-1025. Joe, I do want to say that we found out the schedule. I believe the super regional schedule came out about 28 minutes after we got off the air yesterday.
I thought it was like right after.
It was pretty close.
Yeah.
Saturday, Sunday, Monday, the schedule for Tennessee and Arkansas. So they will begin on Saturday, which I guess could be good news if you're Tennessee and you want to start Liam Doyle in game 1.
Yeah.
You could probably do it now.
Yeah,
Saturday.
I think so. And that to me is like you bring out your ace right away and you set the tone and put the pressure on them. I mean, so I that's what I expect Tony Vitello to do now.
So we will see how that develops for Tennessee, and we'll have more on the super regional for Tennessee against Arkansas as the week develops here. We begin today's show with some trash talk on Vanderbilt football.
Everybody's trash talking Vanderbilt.
Really? Everybody's trash talking
Everybody's
Vanderbilt this week.
Just talking to Vanderbilt.
Heck of a week to trash talk Vanderbilt. And the latest comes from Alabama wide receiver Ryan Williams, who I don't know if you're aware or not, Joe, was 17 years old when he played college football last year. And it only came up 75 times on each broadcast that he was playing.
Yeah.
But obviously, Alabama, pretty significant loss to Vanderbilt last year. Talked a lot about that game around here. And they will be playing Vanderbilt again this year, this time at home. And they'll be playing Tennessee at home this year too. So John Gruden, doing his Barstool stuff now, he's gone through his quarterback camp, and now he's ended up talking to Ryan Williams, and he was going through what happened against Vanderbilt last year. And, the answer started fine from Ryan Williams. He's like, they just played better football than we did that day and all this other stuff. And eventually he got to this quote, Joe, which is making the rounds. Quote, going into this game, talking about Vanderbilt this year, we don't call them revenge games. We're going to kill an ant with a sledgehammer this year. Every game we fell short last year, we definitely got red eyes going into them this year. This is from Ryan Williams, the quote. Kill an ant with a sledgehammer is what he said. Joe, your thoughts?
I love it. Now, the follow-up I needed was, okay, so is Vanderbilt, of all these revenge games, are they the one team you view as the ant? because he was talking about Vanderbilt and, Ant and Sledgehammer. That sounds like what people would expect when Alabama and Vanderbilt play, right?
It does sound like that.
But then he kind of went into, Red Eyes, the other game, blah, blah, blah. But to me, that was a direct, not just that we're going to beat Vanderbilt, but that, Vanderbilt doesn't belong on the field with Alabama. And I'm here for it.
Well, it's going to be interesting. Like I immediately, and I heard Jared talking a little bit about this yesterday too. I immediately thought of Nick Saban. I was like, what do Nick Saban would think about this? Of him just being like, yeah, we're going to kill an ant with a sledgehammer out there, that Vanderbilt. They got us last year. Hope they enjoyed it. I don't know.
I mean, Diego Pavia is going to, first of all, he's going to rent a theater. They're going to rent the Belcourt Theater, and they're going to watch the movie Ants the week of the game. He's going to put ant pictures all over the locker. I can already see it, man. I mean, if I'm Vanderbilt, I lean into this just like 8 years ago. Saban was like, thank you. Oh my gosh, it was Big Joe who did the interview too, and I forget the kid's name, but he's like, "You're next, Alabama." After they beat Kansas State.
The quote, what he's going to show, they're going to show Alabama how to play real SEC ball, and it's like, okay, man, calm down.
God, is that what he said?
That's
I
what
just
he
remember
said.
the "you're next" part, but of course, again, this is here. Let me bring it to one writer on this real quick. So Michael Casagrande has covered Alabama forever.
Yeah.
And he didn't come to the game last. He's kind of turned to a columnist role there, but he didn't. He was like, yeah, he did something else. He went to a different game, so he didn't. He missed the game last year. In 2017, before the game, he told me, "I'm telling you, Vanderbilt's winning this game." He said that.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like Vanderbilt thought they were up. People who covered Alabama thought they were going to lose to Vanderbilt, and they beat them 1,000,000-0.
Yes, I remember that very well. Diego Pavia apparently has responded to this. Okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So On3 put this out there last night. I'll just read the first two graphs. After Ryan Williams promised Alabama would kill an ant with a sledgehammer against Vanderbilt this year, Commodores quarterback Diego Pavia responded. He offered a message via Instagram Tuesday night. Pavia reposted a reel that had Gucci Mane's "Made It" outro playing in the background. And one of the lyrics is, quote, "They acting like they tough, but don't want no confrontation."
Okay.
And Pavia included a 100 emoji and smoke emoji with the post. So Pavia is aware of Ryan Williams' comments.
I like that. I was hoping that you were going to tell me there was some sort of,
Actual response.
How about Ants Marching by Dave Matthews
Well,
Band? Can we jam that out?
maybe-
Maybe
Maybe
we can have some fun with this.
Maybe a missed opportunity.
He's got time.
Well, look, there's no doubt, that response probably will not be the last time we hear from Diego Pavia in Alabama week from the Ryan Williams stuff. So, look, I love this stuff. This is part of what makes college football great. It's awesome. Frankly, Diego Pavia and the way that he approaches things, I also love. So I am very interested to see how Vanderbilt handles this. But we also know that Ryan Williams is an absolute problem to deal with out there. So we'll see if Vanderbilt can go to Alabama this year and get it done and avoid being the ant to the Alabama sledgehammer.
Yeah, that's it was already going to be a fascinating, week and game and all that, but this gives you a little reminder of what's to come. That game for Vanderbilt, a big key with that game, and just like any good game in the SEC is, how much attrition have you, how much attrition have you endured already when you get to that point? Last year it was, I think, maybe the second SEC game, or was it the SEC opener? It was very early. Because it was first weekend or whatever in October.
Yep.
So this year they do have South Carolina on the road, but this is their second SEC game, early October. So I mean, that's that bodes well for Vanderbilt. Whereas I think at the end of the year, you saw a little bit of again, they obviously end at Tennessee this year. I think you saw a little bit of wear and tear on them. So and especially with Pavia, that's the thing. Can Pavia be 100% Pavia for that game?
We're going to find out. Also, who's playing quarterback for Alabama? It looks like it's going to be Ty Simpson. So we'll see if that's good or not. I have no idea. I have no clue what to expect from Ty Simpson.
Yeah, it's almost surprising when you hear a story anymore about quarterback, high recruit, and waits a few years to start. But that's actually how it's supposed to be. It's you're actually supposed. And I know the offense has changed too since he's gone there, but that's what's supposed to happen. And now you just kind of expect if the opportunity doesn't come early, the kid gets in a portal.
So I took this whole thing. Vanderbilt already in the heads of Alabama before the season begins. If you're a Vanderbilt fan, that's the way I'd look at it. Already in Bama's head.
Owning some real estate.
That's right.
In Alabama's head.
Haven't been too many times in Vanderbilt football history where you could say that. I think you can now if you want to.
Yeah, maybe like 1985 after they beat him in 1984. Ray Perkins.
Yeah.
In Alabama, I don't know what happened, like, I don't know. I'm sure the next time they played, Alabama killed them, but I just know that in 1984, people still talking about that Vanderbilt win over Bama. In fact, that was the last one, right? I think
so.
Yeah. So every 41 years or so, we're in your head.
Yeah, you better watch out. See if they can repeat it this year going down to Tuscaloosa. Some trash talk from Alabama wide receiver Ryan Williams directed towards Vanderbilt football. So we'll see how they respond to that. We got a lot of things with the Titans to get into. We'll get to some comments from Brian Callahan on the offensive line from yesterday as well. Coming up next, take your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com throughout the show. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
With that, go ahead.
Maybe going to be out there?
He's here. Again, we're just being smart, managing him at 35 years old and just getting here for this last half of the offseason program. So just take it slow with him. Don't need to see a lot of Zeitler at the moment. He's pretty proven at this point in his career. So more just about being smart than anything else. But he's here. He's participating. He's around. He's in meetings, and he's with us, part of the team.
That was Brian Callahan yesterday on Kevin Zeitler, who apparently not on the field, but is in the building, in the meeting rooms, all that jazz, as we're continuing to go through OTAs here for the Tennessee Titans. Joe, some reaction to that yesterday. You know, obviously the offensive line, a sensitive subject around here, given how poor that it's been over the past few years. And some of the conversation I saw from Titans fans in the aftermath of that was, all right, it's not the world's biggest deal, but man, I'd sure love to see the entire offensive line out there as often as possible, just to work on kind of being next to each other for the first time and getting, you know, some reps in together. Everybody is aware that there's limited, or everybody should be aware that there's limited in terms of just physical reps that you're getting here. There's no pads on. It's not like you're hitting defensive linemen and driving them in the ground and stuff like that this time of year. So there's a limited amount of what you can probably gain and really is valuable from the offensive and defensive lines this time of year. So it's always important to keep that in mind. But I did see some Titans fans that were concerned about Zeitler not being on the field. Joe, it is the beginning of June, so your concern level that Kevin Zeitler not on the field, before we get to an interesting theory on this from Trevor Maddich yesterday that I heard that he threw out on Stilly's show.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm interested in that. Yeah, I just it's hard for me to honestly summon much, not even outrage, much of anything about this. It's, you know, again, it's sort of like the reps, like Callahan's talking about with the quarterbacks. I guess, I mean, the one thing that to me is it's like a reminder, you know, 35 years old. First of all, it's sobering to hear people talk about that like that's ancient. But
it's older than me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's sobering too. But
significantly.
Good for you. But you know, I don't unless they're really doing a lot of, obviously like in camp, you want them there every day. You want them next to each other every day. And then I think the real debate is like, how much benefit do you get from them having a few series in a preseason game, things like that. At this point, yeah, I can't get there, man. I can't get there. And if they stink, you know, again, we always have these conversations like, if this happens, are we going to look back at early June? I
severely doubt it.
Yeah.
I mean, it really, as long as he's out there for training camp, I don't care all that much. Now, look, I will say I'm interested to hear what Kuharsky has to say about this later, because he's thrown it out there many times that he doesn't want to hear about, well, it's got to take the offensive line some time to gel this year. Like, he has no time for that heading into this year. So,
yeah, I mean, he's only covered the NFL for half a century, and that's always the case. But okay,
well,
cool.
he wants nothing to do with that this year as the Titans are putting this line together. I think most of the concern that I saw, and Jared talked about this a little bit too, it's not necessarily that Zeitler's not on the field. It's just because Zeitler has not played with Latham before. They've got a center coming back from an Achilles injury at this point. So how long is it going to be before Cushenberry's back on the field and ready to go?
Yep.
You've got Dan Moore playing left tackle next to a guy in Skoronski that he's never played with before. So there's just a lot of moving parts with the offensive line that if there's ever opportunities to maybe work some things out, regardless of if it's OTAs or not, maybe you take those opportunities if you're the Titans.
Yeah. Yeah, it probably wouldn't be a bad thing. But I believe that camp is plenty. And frankly, it's not enough, because that's the thing. It's like camp is plenty, but also like it's just games. And that's the thing. So we're probably going to see some growing pains. And that's where preseason games, there isn't a ton of value in them. Again, no one's game planning. You know, teams are doing vanilla stuff out there. But some of your schemes and some of your protections and things like that, you can get a look at those. And just like the joint practices, that's why people like those so much now. You get best versus best and things like that. But even through all that, like you're going to have to find some things out during games. So then you look at this now, and it means nothing. It means nothing.
So Maddich threw it out there yesterday, basically that he wonders if like there's something else going on with Zeitler. Like, is he completely healthy? Like something like that. So it's always worth keeping those things in mind this time of year. Like if there's even the most minor of things, could the Titans just be like, it's not worth putting you out there for this? You know, you heard Callahan say it there. He's not all that worried about Kevin Zeitler. He's played a lot of football over the years. So that part of it, I don't care about the Zeitler part of it. I really don't. Like, I'm not worried about him. The only thing that really worries me about Kevin Zeitler is he's 35 years old, and is there a wall coming? I mean, it's coming at some point for all of them. Does that happen this year for him? But I'm not worried about that right now as we sit here on June the 4th. I kind of go back to all the other stuff of, all right, playing with Latham, making sure your communication's down. We still have the Cushenberry thing that we probably don't talk about enough as to whether or not he's going to be back healthy, ready to go. And if he's not, what do they do in the meantime? There's still a lot of moving parts with the offensive line that make me concerned about how quickly they're going to be able to come together when the season comes around. And oh, by the way, you played Denver first, so have fun with that.
Yeah, it's like if they come out and look like a cohesive, really strong offensive line at Denver, then watch out, everybody. I'm going to start talking playoffs the next week. It's so unlikely. Like it's so likely that they're going to look vulnerable and have a bunch of issues and things like that. But again, in this league, offensive line play early in the season is that's been a thing. It's pretty widespread.
Let's head back to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Jared in Spring Hill. Jared, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Good morning, gentlemen. So I just kind of on Callahan's comments, like I just don't think the Titans, especially him, can afford, and I get it's June, but I just don't like to hear that, oh, it's okay. He's got plenty of experience, and that also matriculated from, I feel like, Jeffrey Simmons. Well, I know Jeffrey Simmons will be ready. The Titans can't really afford to just be passive and just be like everything is okay because we got these guys in the building. Like, I would at least, maybe you can be calm, like a little bit behind closed doors, but can you act like something is their sense of urgency that we have to get better? Like sometimes perception is reality. Sometimes it isn't, but can we just get a little bit of, oomph, you know what I'm saying? Like, show us something, But anyways, what is success for this offensive line this year, given how bad it's been as of recent seasons? Hang up and listen. Tighten up.
Thank you, Jared. Appreciate it. What a success for this offensive line.
Mediocrity.
I mean, comparatively speaking, yeah. I mean, I'd probably settle out of court for that right now, right? Like if you're a middle of the pack offensive line, I think a lot of Titans fans would take that right now. Now, I've said this, you drafted J.C. Latham 7th overall to be your franchise left tackle, and you've basically punted on him being your franchise left tackle after 1 year, which I guess is fine, but he better be a darn good right tackle. Like you better walk away from year 2 from Latham thinking to yourself, man, they got a 10-year bona fide stud at right tackle.
Yeah, but if not, they can just blame Rant. Blame Rant.
Well, maybe so.
Hashtag blame Rant.
Maybe so. I don't really care about the money part of it because it ain't my money, but you did pay a lot of money to bring in a left tackle, right? Like you need him to be a good, solid, reliable player for you. Zeitler has been a very good player throughout his career. He is 35, so we'll see what that looks like this year. So, I'm based on what the offensive line has been, I would settle for average offensive line right now. No questions asked, but I do look at certain pieces that they've got on the offensive line, particularly Latham, and I think to myself, you better see some pretty stellar play from that guy.
Absolutely. And, yeah, I think Maddich, by the way, on Zeitler, I think that's a good theory. The thing is, this didn't need to become a story. Obviously, it becomes a story, because – and, I mean, it is – like, yeah, I don't think it's a big deal, but it is sort of like – it's curious.
Yeah.
why, I guess
'Cause you
like
can make-
why not? Like
That's the
why
thing.
not have
Like,
them do stuff if
you
if-
could make the
yeah.
argument of, well, they're not really doing all that much anyway, so what does it really matter?
Yeah.
And then the flip side of that argument is, well, they're not really doing all that much, so why can't he be out there,
Right,
right?
right.
Like
Yeah,
it
yeah.
just it really just depends on which way you look
I
at
mean,
it.
there's I think there's a probably decent likelihood that a tender ankle or something. It's like,
Yeah.
whatever. But it's these teams, injury reports when they have to happen, they have to happen. Now, I do think Callahan is much more likely to still be like, yeah, he's dealing with something. Whereas of course, Vrabel would,
Not happen.
if he mentioned something to someone about an injury, then have to kill them. So I think I've come up with a new hashtag. The hashtag Let Rand Cook.
Yeah.
Hashtag Let's Blame Rand.
I like that. That's good.
Hashtag Let's Blame Rand on everything bad that happens.
Go.
Rand, are you napping?
Tavandre Sweat heading into year 2 for the Titans. We talked yesterday on the Titans buy or sell about what the pass rush could look like this year. It was not encouraging, according to the three of us. What should expectations be for Tavandre Sweat heading into year 2? We'll get into that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
I'm comfortable all the time, man.
Did you change, weight or anything like
Oh,
that?
yeah. Yes, sir.
What are your expectations for yourself in year 2?
Be the best that I was last year. Be better than I was last year.
Talk about focusing maybe on weight. Are you down compared to last year?
Oh, yeah.
Time?
Yes, sir. Ask Callahan, man.
Yeah, okay. But
There you go.
enough where you feel it, though, out here?
Feel what?
You feel lighter and faster?
Oh, I feel great.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Did you ask JC about what his plan was? Did you guys have similar plans? Or
He's a grown man. He do his own thing, man. I do mine.
Tavandre, I saw Sebastian was doing some things like yoga, it seemed, or hot yoga of some kind this offseason. Did you do anything kind of out of the ordinary or maybe outside the box?
I tried hot yoga. Whew. I tried hot yoga.
How did it go?
It was all right. Try Pilates, too. I ain't going back to Pilates.
That's Tavandre Sweat yesterday. Didn't sound like he was a huge fan of hot yoga. He's definitely not a huge fan of the Pilates. Figured that out from Tavandre Sweat. I will say,
I don't blame him.
the mental image of him doing Pilates is pretty awesome. Probably needs to go back.
What about hot yoga?
Hot yoga could also be pretty special.
Yeah.
Look at there.
I'm with
what
you,
do they call him?
Tavandre.
Meatloaf?
Yeah. It's
It's good stuff.
It
Apparently
is.
he's lost some weight. So he's in better shape than he was a year ago, which, by the way, a lot of conversation about how good a shape he is going to be in last year. I mean, he played in every game. Didn't seem to slow him down all that much. So that really wasn't much of a storyline throughout the year in actuality, the way it played out with Tavandre Sweat. So good for him.
Yeah. He also wasn't quite as impactful as I thought he might be if it worked out.
Yep.
So what does that mean? How much? I love ask Callahan about my weight. Yeah, you can ask him.
You guys can ask Brian Callahan. Well, Brian Callahan was asked not about his weight, but about expectations for Tavandre Sweat heading into year 2 at his press conference yesterday. Here's what Titans head coach Brian Callahan had to say.
How do you quantify the growth from year 1 into year 2 for Tavandre Sweat?
I think it's the details of the position. He's a supremely talented person. There's not a lot of people on the planet that can do what he does at his size. And it's more about the consistency of performance. Would like to see more from the pass rush game. He's got ability to rush for a man his size, and that's point of emphasis for him is affecting the quarterback more. He's a tremendous run defender. That was a strength of his already from last year, and the part of it's going to be just improving the detail and then improving the ability to help affect the quarterback. So I think those are the things we're looking for progression wise from him. And he has the ability to be a full 3-down player. He's not necessarily your explosive interior pass rushers that are out there, but he's got great ability to push the pocket too. So looking for more of that from him. And I think he had a solid start to his career. And I think there's a whole lot more meat on that bone for him.
So that was Callahan on Sweat heading into year 2. Says he wants to see him become more of a threat rushing the passer. Says he's not necessarily one of those explosive pass rushers from up the middle, but his ability to push the pocket, something they're looking for more of in year 2. I'm on Pro Football Reference right now. He was credited last year with 3 quarterback hits, 1 quarterback sack. So obviously not a ton in either one of those areas in terms of affecting the quarterback. So, Joe, as you look at Sweat, what he did in year 1 in all 17 games, the size, obviously, that he brings to the table, the ability to be a force defending against the run, how do you view him heading into year 2? And what is the jump that you're looking for in terms of him getting after the quarterback in year 2?
Well, I don't know that I care about a sack number. And I said it last year. He can have 3.5 sacks and be great. That is possible. Now, pushing the pocket, like Callahan said, I mean, it's the dominance that you're looking for on a down in and down out basis, and it's leading to quarterback being affected, quarterback, hitting the ground, other people getting sacks, et cetera, et cetera. I do think that Sweat would be one of the reasons you could talk yourself into optimism. Again, Sweat and Simmons. I mean, they were fine last year. I mean, look, Brian Callahan, he's been accused of being a little positive at times. I think at times he has been a little bit too. I thought that analysis of Sweat was not overly, it was solid start.
Yep.
And I think that's accurate, but also it's interesting. Like sometimes you expect him to be. I wouldn't have been surprised if Brian Callahan had said, "Yeah, had a really good rookie season," and then it's like, "Yeah, was it? It was fine. It was good. It certainly didn't leave you discouraged. I don't think it should have. But how much better can he get? I think it's got to be. I mean, for this team to be significantly better than expectations overall, I think he's got to make a huge jump. And I do think it's possible for him to be a lot more impactful.
Well, some of this goes back to, we had the buy or sell discussion yesterday. And one of the questions that I threw out there was, is there a single Titan that will have 7 or more sacks? And all 3 of us sold, because I think it just kind of shows you on paper what they've got right now getting after the passer. Now, I do not expect Tavandre Sweat to have 7 sacks, right? Like, I think that would be an astronomical jump, especially at that position that he plays. So I don't expect him to have that, but it does kind of highlight the importance of getting more as far as rushing the passer from him and Simmons, because they're so light at edge rusher right now. Barring some unforeseen just monster season from Arden Key, or maybe Femi Oladejo is way more ready to play and be impactful than we think heading into his rookie year, given his background. Barring that, they just don't have a lot getting after the passer right now. So part of that answer is going to have to be, if they're going to be a good defense, it's going to have to be Simmons and Sweat causing some havoc up the middle. And we talked about that last year, and the opportunity for that to be maybe the best part of their defense. And they had their moments, but I would not say that consistently they were the dominant duo that you expected out there. That it would be great for this defense, and frankly, it might be necessary for this defense, if they're going to be good, for them to have that type of year this year.
Yeah, I mean, that's, and you wonder, that's the thing. They made some plays, not as many as you'd like, but also just the overall, the rushing defense was terrible. How much of that was mistakes? I don't know. I don't know the answer, but I mean, shoot, Aaron Donald at times got ripped. I mean, there were films, I saw film study dudes who was like, well, see, Aaron Donald, he blows people up, but actually look at how many running lanes he creates sometimes when he, plays off script. I mean, there is something to the whole picture and the whole puzzle and how it fits together. The run fits have to be sound. There's no way they were enough last year, so there's also that, just being solid and sound against the run, man. I mean, if teams can run on you like teams ran on the Titans last year, and of course, Jeffrey Simmons likes to say the teams don't run on the Titans. I hope he doesn't say that again until they go through a year and get back to being one of the best rush defenses in the league like they were not that long ago. Yeah, you're in such trouble as a defense.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, if you can't stop the run with the lack of pass rushers that they've got this year, you're going to be in for a long year on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, it just is what it is. Like, I look at Sweat, and again, I'm with you. I think you walk away from his rookie year and you say, you could see some of the tools that are there. Now, he did not get after the quarterback as much as anybody hoped in year one. How much of that has to do with the weight? He's talked about losing some weight. We'll see if Callahan ever divulges exactly how much that is. But
daily,
how much?
Give us the number every day.
We need the scale. Somebody bring the scale. How much does that, if it's significant weight that he's dropped, how much will that help him in terms of getting after the passer? Because, I go back to what Callahan said, the combination of a guy being that big and the ability to move the way that he does, he's right. There's not a lot of people on planet Earth that can do that. So I expected that last year to probably translate into more opportunities to get after the quarterback than it did. Yeah.
Again, some of it is, teams sitting there at 3rd and 3 because they ran for 4 and ran for 3, as opposed to teams, 3rd 9. That's part of it, right? Just the overall failures of the defense. But yeah, it wasn't just like, I think just about everything last year, other than I guess NWI's touchdowns. And I don't know what was good about this team last year. NWI scored some touchdowns. Pollard
played hard.
Pollard was fine.
Pollard was pretty good, and Brownlee was a nice rookie surprise, but just like everything,
Nick Folk,
it
The
was,
kicker, yeah.
Nick Folk was really good.
Yeah.
And then
And thanks,
they got rid of him.
See you later, Nick.
Yeah.
So this was one of the things that definitely I thought this might be the strength of the team.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I guess it was still high on the list of strengths of the team because this team didn't have any strengths.
It just wasn't what you hoped it would be.
No.
Like they've got to be. I mean, those two. Look, you're paying Jeffrey Simmons a lot of money. We inevitably end up back in a Jeffrey Simmons conversation when we get into this defense because they need him to be a great player. But you're paying him a lot of money, and you've invested a significant draft pick in Sweat. Like those two need to be really, really good for you up the middle. And I thought they were fine at times last year. It just was not consistent enough.
It's time for Sweat to make a big step, or hashtag let Rand be cooked.
615-737-1025, our phone number. Your thoughts on Tavandre Sweat? What are fair expectations in year two? We'll get more into that coming up next, plus a move in the NFL that I have to say made me chuckle immediately yesterday. We'll get into that as well. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063, The Game. Tune in to 94.9 The Fan tonight as the Nashville Sounds take on Gwinnett at First Horizon Park. Pre-game at 6:20, first pitch at 6:35. Coverage also available on the Game Nashville app and at thegamenashville.com. Sounds baseball on 94.9 The Fan, presented by Twin Peaks and Family Leisure. Robby and Rexrode brought to you by First Horizon. Big bank muscle, small bank hustle. Visit firsthorizon.com/get it all. Taking your thoughts on the Titans, 615-737-1025. We have one texter, Joe, that says, 2 top 10 picks, a retooled offensive line, the best offensive line coach in the league, and this show says mediocrity would be a success. I get that they were putrid last year, but I refuse to accept mediocrity. I'm done being gaslit. And I said, a response to that text, I said, have you seen them? You think they're going to go from worst to best? And the texter responded saying that I don't think they should be the best in the league, but shouldn't I expect more than mediocre given the investment in the O-line and their coach, whom I'm told is the best of the best. Joe, your thoughts on the offensive line?
Wait, are you saying we're gaslighting you, texter? Hey, man, I'm just sitting there. I'm watching them play, and it's bad. Now, look, Bill Callahan took over a terrible situation, and Bill Callahan's track record speaks for itself. That's not smoke and mirrors. I mean, like he's one of the most respected guys who's done his job in the league. So to me, first of all, you should absolutely be disappointed with last year. Absolutely. Like Robby said earlier, you draft a guy number 7 and say, oh, yeah, he's a left tackle. And we're already talking about, no, well, he's better at right tackle. Oh, okay. Obviously, Skoronski was drafted before that. Cushenberry comes in. I mean, they tried to address it. They did not address right tackle well, and we'll get to that. But even with that, it's like Bill Callahan looked at the film. I think with Nicholas Petit-Frere, I think it's pretty obvious that it's one of those things that really boggles my mind because
and we're going to get to him in a minute.
Yeah. But yeah, that's his ongoing adventures in the NFL. Yeah, you talk to Nicholas Petit-Frere, super bright, humble, seemingly motivated young player in this league. And that was part of why I thought, I think he can be okay. And then, and this was still after the gambling thing, but I was like, okay, one mistake. And then it's like early last season when you get into this crap he's doing with like fantasy football, it's like, oh, this guy is
he might be an idiot.
He's just unserious.
Yeah.
He is just an unserious, and here we go. I mean, his career is dissolving. But again, to answer the big picture of this, I'm not like you should expect more. You're right. Like you should hope for more. I'm just telling you that realistically, like get to okay. Get like you do have to take steps sometimes, but like this year certainly is huge for Bill Callahan to at least get to that. If you can't get to that, then I got to wonder what the heck's going on.
They're not going to be here.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Yeah, I mean, I think both Callahans will be gone.
Yeah, if they can't get to that, they're not going to be here after this year. I mean, it's very simple heading into this season. If they can't get to at least being, an average to, slightly above average offensive line, then everything else on the offense is going to suffer because then they won't be here. I mean, I think it's pretty simple heading into this year. So you can have those expectations. I mean, look, we all know that they've invested a lot in the offensive line. I think sometimes we have to separate investment level from what these guys actually are. Like Peter Skoronski, they invested heavily in. Peter Skoronski may end up being a good player. It's pretty clear that Peter Skoronski is not worth where he was drafted. Like he was drafted 11th overall. He's not worth that. He wasn't worth it at the time they did it, and he's certainly not worth it now. He's probably not going to be worth it. Now, that doesn't mean he can't become a good starting player for you, but he's not worth where he was drafted. So
hashtag let's blame Rant and or Vrabel.
Well, I mean, I think sometimes we get so caught up in investment level, and I get it. I get why. Like you have to, if you're using first round picks, particularly relatively high first round picks, well, then you need to use them properly. But like I'm not even worried about that with Skoronski anymore. I just need him to turn into a good left guard for you. Like I'll take that at this point. And that's not what you want when you draft somebody that high. You want him to be like an all-pro at that spot. But like he's not going to get there. He's not going to do that. So I need him to be a good, reliable starting left guard for you moving forward. I will take that at this point.
Yep. And the thing is, I still look at it. Yeah, I look at Skoronski and Latham as guys who still have a chance. Now, Latham, I think, still has a chance to be to be special. It's possible. I know last year wasn't, but I think it's possible. Kuharsky, I think like you said, you got to lower it to, can he be good? I think he has a chance to be pretty good, and you'll take that. If you have that across your line, you got a chance. You can look at the other spots. We'll see with center. I think they're going to have to do something early in the season. We'll see. Zeitler's a good pickup, and we'll definitely see. To me, Dan Moore is as big an individual storyline as there is. There aren't many bigger than him to me. It's like if he's what some of the numbers have said over his career, boy, here we go again. And if his performance is, he actually was that much better last year, and he's a viable starter, and again, just solid, then they got a chance to take a significant step.
But even that's a huge investment level. And you're not if you think that Dan Moore is going to come in here and you're going to be talking about him being a top 5 left tackle at the end of the year, he's just not going to be that.
No.
So I think sometimes you got to separate the investment level and what actuality is.
Well,
there's a lot of things, like even Zeitler's been a great player. Zeitler's 35, right? I mean, the wall comes at some point for these people. Now, hopefully it won't be for him this year, but he's 35 years old.
And when it comes to investment, and it's fair to look at what people get, but just remember, that's what free agency is. You overpay.
Yeah, exactly. Nicholas Petit-Frere, you brought him up. His tenure with the San Francisco 49ers lasts less than a month, Joe. I think he was signed on May the 9th. And yesterday they made a move where he was released. They brought in some other members there, including they also put Trent Taylor, a wide receiver, on injured reserve. But Nicholas Petit-Frere now gone in San Francisco before training camp even comes around. So your thoughts?
That's wild. It is wild because, again, look, there may be physical stuff I don't know about. Everybody gets hurt, but he hasn't had any massive injuries. Again, he's a very good college player. Yeah. What's his name? Crushed him. Aiden Hutchinson crushed him, in the Michigan-Ohio State game. But he was a worthwhile, again, 3rd-round pick. I will always contend, despite the I told you so boo-boo crew, that he was okay at times as a rookie. He had some good moments, he had some good games. It was not without hope after his rookie year. Then he gets the gambling suspension. Again, it's like it has to be a case of at some point, he got unserious. I don't know.
Well, you know how hard it is for an offensive lineman, particularly an offensive tackle, to get cut in OTAs when there's nothing really going on with offensive linemen. It's not like they're in pads out there on the field.
Right. So is this his approach? They're like,
Maybe.
this guy doesn't care. The guy doesn't want. I don't know.
Andre Dillard's still hanging around up there. He didn't get cut.
He's still, boy, that's good. I mean, he's a good guy to come off the bus and be around the dudes, and go to training table and then just not play. Don't play him.
I've never really heard anything negative in terms of Andre Dillard's approach. He just may not be very good. It's pretty clear Nicholas Petit-Frere, based on, number one, the gambling, and then the stupid fantasy football stuff that he tried to do last year. It's when he did that, when we talked about it on the show, when he did that, it was like, okay, so this guy just doesn't get it. He just does not understand.
And like I said, it's just, I actually want to ask this with Kuharsky later because, you have limitations when you're interviewing people. You have to take everything with a grain of salt. I'm in my 50s. I have a pretty decent read on people, and I never would have guessed that would be why he would fail. You know, seemed to totally have his head screwed on straight, but
apparently not.
Yeah. Apparently not.
I mean, I'm not saying his NFL career is just done now, but I mean, you're talking about just totally flaming out here in spectacular fashion. You get signed by another team and they cut you in the offseason within 3 weeks of being there. Where does he go from here? Is there I assume he's going to get picked up somewhere else by the time camp comes around and he'll get a shot somewhere. But if he gets cut from there, I don't know. Is he done? Like, is he in danger of being done here in a few weeks?
He might be. I hope his analysis is good. Yeah, he might be. Real quick, Ed says, to be fair, it takes offensive lineman time to be recognized. A lot of it is reputation, team success. And Skoronski won't be an all-pros a little premature. If team has success, reputation get better. I hear you, Ed, but if you watch him, I think he's just too slow. I think he gets beat too often and just laterally does not have the quickness, which, again, when anybody, we always focus on the small, short arms with him and tackle. That's not why he's not a tackle. It's because you put him on the edge against some of these pass rushers. I just don't think he has the feet to handle it. It's the feet. It's not the arm.
And look, I will say this about Skoronski. I think he got better last year because I remember at the start of the year, it looked bad. And we were like, oh my goodness. Like this was, you're talking about the first 4 or 5 games last year. I think we had conversations about, is this guy just a total bust? Like, is he going to be just a total misfire at that spot? And again, like I don't think he's ever going to live up.
Moments where he destroys people.
Right, exactly. Like I do. I think he got better as the year went on. I don't ever think he's going to be worth where he was drafted. But again, at this point, I don't care about that. I need him to be a good, reliable left guard for you. And if he can do that, I'm cool with it at this point. 615-737-1025, our phone number, 615-737-1025. Calvin Ridley has had some interesting comments. Brian Callahan has brought up him and Cam Ward working together. And I had a thought on the Ridley Ward situation yesterday that I think is interesting and could tell us a lot about Cam Ward rather than Calvin Ridley. We'll get into that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, brought to you by First Horizon, Big Bank Muscle, Small Bank Hustle. Visit firsthorizon.com/get-it-all. Live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership where the buzz is always about great service. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you. Paul Kuharsky from paulkuharsky.com will be with us later in the program. We'll get into all things Tennessee Titans with him. Taking your thoughts in the meantime, 615-737-1025. Cam Ward addressing reporters yesterday at Titans OTAs and talked about a few different things. One thing that came up was his connection with Calvin Ridley. We all know how important that is going to be for Cam Ward and the Titans in year one of the Cam Ward era this year. Here's what Cam Ward had to say yesterday on trying to build chemistry with Calvin Ridley.
It's been good with Red, especially, a vet who's had, decent amount of stops, who's produced at every stop. For him to hear my feedback on what I want, and, I got to hear his, because at the end of the day, if I'm not clicking, he's not clicking, we the two main pieces. So we gotta listen to each other and continue to build that chemistry, staying after practice, getting work in, and, even on the weekend getting work in.
So that was Cam Ward yesterday on the Ridley front. I was reading Paul Kuharsky from paulkuharsky.com yesterday, talking about some observations that he had from the Ridley part of this. And we'll get into this with PK a little bit more when he gets there. But he talked about kind of a moment yesterday in the practice where Ward launches a deep ball for Ridley. It's right on target into the top receiver's arms. He kind of waltzes into the end zone there. And just thinking back to last year, how difficult it seemed like it was for Levis and Ridley to get on the same page throughout training camp, and that was a storyline throughout training camp. And it ended up being the way it played out in the season. It took Ridley a while to get going here with the Titans. So it got me thinking about this, Joe. All this, we talk so much about Ridley and him needing to be ready to go right from the jump, and he's not been able to do it each of the last 2 years, right? Like we had Michael DeRocco on from ESPN who covers the Jags, and he talked about that even before the season last year of just how long it took Ridley to get going with Jacksonville. And we saw how it played out last year, and it took him a while to get going. If he gets going quicker this year, how much of that is a Cam Ward thing? Like how much of that is Cam Ward really dialing it in with him? How much credit does Cam Ward get for that? Because clearly Trevor Lawrence wasn't able to do it with Ridley soon enough. Will Levis wasn't able to do it with Ridley soon enough. And I think we all kind of focus in on Ridley with those conversations, which is fair. He plays a big part of it. But if it happens this year and they're good right from the jump, how much of that is a Cam Ward thing, do you think?
It's a good question. First of all, you remember all that stuff, and it's like, well, there are definitely better veteran number one receiver situations for a rookie quarterback to come into, I would say. Because there's no question, like last camp, it was not all on Will Levis, not at all. So if it does happen, I would think that means Ridley got better too, right? Like I mean,
you would think.
So I don't.
But you're talking about 2 years in a row with him where it has been a struggle to get going.
Yeah. So I don't really. I guess I don't. I know. Like right now, again, just like blaming Rand, we blame Levis for everything. He did nothing good. I just look at that more as a thing of Ridley thing than a Levis thing.
I do too, but I guess I'm not saying that it's like I'm not trying to just blame the quarterbacks on it. I'm saying if it happens, does it show you that maybe right. Ward's got something a little special?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. But I mean, I would also ask, like, if Cam Ward gave you what Trevor Lawrence has given the Jags so far, like, how would people feel about Cam Ward at that point?
Talking about in year one?
Well, no, like in, a few years into his career.
I mean, I don't think people would be overly excited about it.
It wouldn't be like ecstatic, but he'd get a second deal.
He'd get a second deal.
Yeah. So it's like, I'm just trying to be realistic. And by the way, you talk about a difference in expectation and analysis and attention and everything. Trevor Lawrence was totally the chosen one, and Cam Ward's like, I guess he's this year's number one pick, right? So but I mean, I think that's fair. Like if it works out, then maybe that's like Cam Ward in particular finding some way to to, get him going earlier, or just finding a way to build that chemistry better than those guys did. That's sure. I mean, it's possible that could, but it just seems like some of these things are Ridley centric mistakes. So I don't know at this point in your career, like how much you can change or improve.
I don't know. I mean, he's 30, right? So, not that 30-year-olds can't produce anymore. We've seen there's plenty of 30-year-old wide receivers around the league that are still really good players. With him, I look at him, and it's amazing that he had almost exactly the same yardage total the last 2 years. I mean, you're talking about a difference of 1 yard, just over 1,000 yards at 1,016 in 2023 and 1,017 last year. And I look at that, and I think to myself, okay, he had over 1,000 yards last year, starting off really poorly. Like, he was not good for the first month and a half of the year. All respect due to NWI. There was really not another huge threat that he had out there receiving. And there's probably not this year either. We'll wait and see, either one of the rookie wide receivers turn into anything. But like, if you got an actual receiving core that had options where you had to pay attention to, and he gets off to a better start, what could he be? I mean, he got off to a pretty bad start last year. You're still talking about over 1,000 yards. Now, I get it. With the 17th game, having another game, maybe 1,000 yards isn't as big of a deal for a receiver as it used to be. And frankly, with how much they throw the ball in the league now, it's not as big of a deal as it used to be. But if he can get going quicker, like, could he be a 1,300-yard guy for the Titans this year? I'm not going to go nuts and say that he's going to lead the league in receiving or anything. But could he be? I mean, his career high was back in 2020 with Atlanta, where he had 1,374 yards. Could he get to 1,200 if he got on the same page with a quarterback quicker? Is he still that level of player? I guess is what I'm asking.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, for sure. I think he can get in the low, get push, maybe even push for that career high. Like, again, with the 17th game especially. So yeah, and that'd be good. And then if you have that, then what's your, like what are you supplementing it with? Like, who else is producing? There's a lot of the puzzle that you don't know. He's the one you do know, and it'd be a huge disappointment if he doesn't at least get 1,000 again.
Well, and he's targeted 120 times last year, and he ended up with 64 of them. That's not a very good catch percentage. I mean, it's 53.3%. Now, some of that's on him, some of that's on the quarterback play from a year ago. But I'm looking at also what they've got at receiver right now. And I think you're going to have to, like, if you're throwing the ball as much as I think they might throw it, he's probably going to have to get somewhere in the neighborhood of 130 targets again, right? I mean, they just don't have that very, very many options. Lockett's a good option to have. And Lockett, if he gave you exactly what he gave Seattle last year, I'd probably take that right now, which was 49 catches and 600 yards. I'd sign up for that right now if I were the Titans at his age. But beyond that, like, there's almost nothing that's proven with the Titans right now at their wide receiver spot.
Yeah, so in a way, it'll be exciting to see if, especially these two rookies, if one or both can really make an impact, and the rookie tight end. There's not a lot exciting other than that for me. Like, we've seen Van Jefferson play. Bryce Oliver's a good story, but like, if he elevates and becomes a key guy, to me, that's just that doesn't. I know they're only fourth round picks, but like, frankly, I would rather see the young guys stake a claim. Now, early on, are they going to be able to do that? I don't know, but yeah, you got to count on Ridley. I mean, ultimately, all of it. It's a very, very limited pass catching core if Ridley isn't really good.
We'll take your thoughts on the Ridley Ward connection. 615-737-1025, our phone number. Robby and Rexrode, 1025-1063, the game.
I mean, that's what you want out of your quarterback. That's what you got to have out of your quarterback. He ain't one of the first people in here. I mean, what are we doing? We need another quarterback. But nah, that's great that he's, like I said, I mean, from day one I met him, I knew he was going to be in the book here, trying to, get on top of it early. So that's what we want. Nah, man, it's just more of getting on the same page. I honestly want to hear what he thinks, because I just want to be in a spot where he want me. So I asked him first, what did I do wrong on the play, no matter the throw or the catch or whatever it is? What do I need to do to make you feel better? And then I try to pick his brain of what do I need to do to make you feel better? So that's pretty much what we're doing. Like I said, it's easy to relate to him. For me, just easy to relate to. It's fun, easy to talk ball with, and just like him a lot, man.
Is there anything,
Talk to him.
like to the calm confidence? Because a lot of the guys, they say like he has a calm confidence that it kind of rubs off on you guys.
Yeah, like I said, he came to my house before. My brother met him. The first thing he said after he left was like, "Man, he just ain't just calm. He relaxed." So, I mean, you need that at the quarterback position, man. You can't just be an overthinker, a jittery guy. You just got to kind of, be okay with, up, doing good, and just got to have that mentality. He kind of got that.
That's Calvin Ridley on Cam Ward.
Farting A.
I got to let Calvin in on the new lexicon.
I know, Calvin. Just do like Hubert Davis. Then you can just say whatever you like.
That's right. You can.
All farting day.
Taking your thoughts on the Ridley Ward connection on our text line. Dylan in Antioch says, if you would have told me Ridley has back-to-back 1,000-yard receiving seasons, I wouldn't believe you. It just doesn't seem that way. I get it.
Yeah.
Like, it was so up and down from him last year. He had even some plays after it felt like he figured it out a little bit. I mean, there's that one play where he just runs right out of bounds and no one's around him. And it's like, what are you doing? What's going on out there, Calvin?
Yeah. It's like, no, actually, you really, really need to.
You really need to turn up field and go.
Yeah.
That would be good. But I mean, he ends up, it is kind of freaky. 1,016 yards in 2023, 1,017 yards last year with the Titans, just right there together. And he actually had 12 more catches with Jacksonville than he did last year with the Titans. So very interesting the way that those stats have kind of come together there. But yeah, back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons for Ridley.
That is what it is. Can't take it away from him. So, yeah, he's still, like, when he gets the ball, to me, like, his acceleration is still pretty special. I mean, he can run away from people. So, and yeah, look, those comments beyond the funny bleeps at the end, that's maybe a little bit of a glimpse to it, like Cam Ward, and what Titans' hope will be.
Yeah,
a guy who really leads and gets the team behind him and stuff like that.
One texter says 1,200 definitely possible for Ridley. He had the highest percent of uncatchable targets. Plus, he had 8 drops last year. Really isn't perfect, but he's easily the best wide receiver we've had since AJ. This is from an unnamed texter on the text line.
Well, yeah. I mean, what are the other options? I mean,
D-Hop. D-Hop had a good year.
Yeah, that's true. I guess that's true. Actually, it's an interesting debate. That the first season of D-Hop.
I would actually probably take the first season of D-Hop.
Yeah. So, okay. So I laughed at how obvious what you said was, and actually it's wrong. Okay. So now I'm going to laugh at that. Okay. One way or another, I'm going to laugh at you.
Well, the one thing about Ridley that is different, and it's really kind of different. Like AJ did it in a different way. AJ has explosiveness to him, but Ridley is kind of like the speed that he brings to the table. They've not had a whole lot of in the history of this franchise. Now, he's 30, so is he going to be as quick in the next year or two as he was earlier in his career? We'll see. But even last year, you saw it at times of, he's moving out there and he can get behind the defense. So
yeah, but I mean, I personally, they could line up and run 40s against each other, and Ridley could blow AJ Brown away. I still would trust AJ Brown to get behind people and run past people more.
Well, and also go up and get the ball, which is AJ Brown is exceptional at.
Yeah.
So, nobody's gonna, I don't think, confuse what AJ Brown is and what Calvin Ridley is at this stage of his career. I stand by what I said earlier this offseason, which is I think Calvin Ridley at this stage of his career on a really good team is probably a good number 2 rather than your leading dog at number 1.
Yep,
would be my guess. But right now, I mean, he's unquestionably the number 1. And if Cam Ward is going to have the success that we're looking for in his rookie year, Ridley has to be a big part of it. Like, to me, there's not a path for Cam Ward having that type of success that we're looking for in year 1 if Ridley's not a huge part of it. He's got to be.
100%. Yeah, I don't see a path. It'd be a shocking sequence of events. Like both rookies are, holy cow, those guys went in the 4th round.
Right.
That happens with one guy sometimes, but 2 guys, it's just not very likely. I don't think Tony Pollard's going to run for 1,800 yards, So.
Well, this is also another Brian Callahan thing, right? Like, we talk about Ridley and getting on the same page with the quarterback. And yes, there is a lot of personal responsibility that comes with that to Ridley, right? I do think some of it is the quarterback, and we talked about that earlier with Cam Ward. Some of it's also the coach. Like, if you're Brian Callahan, what did you learn about Ridley in year 1 that you can apply to year 2 to get him going quicker? What with your offense can get him going quicker this year? Like, some of this comes back to Brian Callahan as well. We talk about improvements from year 1 to year 2, and we focus most of that on just like CEO, head coach stuff. Some of it's also like play calling and play design and getting some adjustments made as you go throughout the game. Like, he's got to be better with all that this year. And I think how they use Ridley and how quickly they're able to get him going will also say something about Callahan early in the year.
Yeah, for sure. Look, again, this is what he's supposed to be. This is why he got the job. So, it's like you'd like him to be good right away. Now, let's say Cam Ward has some really good games early and fades, or let's say Cam Ward really struggles early and clearly improves through the course of the season. Which of those is a better reflection on Brian Callahan?
I would probably say most people would say the second one. I just wonder.
That's like the
bad
patience will run out
fast.
fast.
I was about to say the patience will be if they're bad. Plus, Cam Ward doesn't look very good through the first month and a half of the season. That's where we're kind of joking, but not really. Like, that Patriots game comes around and they just get shelled. It's like, well, he might get fired. Like, it may happen at that point.
Yeah. So, like, early success would be good. Early success, again, to me, from Cam Ward. Like, if everything else is just disastrous, then okay, then that's not good. But like, if you lose some close games, but Cam Ward looks like a guy,
yeah. Like, I can
and
tell
there's
you,
some people who still say, well, he's just a guy despite Callahan,
yeah,
and that's fine. But believe me, that's still better for Callahan.
Well, look, I can tell you, I can definitely see a scenario that I think is pretty realistic where they lose a lot of games early, but Cam Ward kind of looks okay. Looks like he's getting better, but you look on the other side of the ball on defense, it's like, well, no one's getting after the quarterback. Who knows whether or not L'Jarius Sneed's healthy as that all goes on, and the defense just can't stop anybody. Like, I can definitely see that being the case here. So I think there's a lot of different ways it can. That's why, to me, it's not just as simple as win-loss record with Callahan this year. There's a lot of context that I think that's going to have to be around it. You can't ignore win-loss record. It's part of it. And ultimately, like, when you're building your franchise, eventually that's the only thing that matters. But you're starting at such a low point this year that there's a lot of context, I think, that has to go in with evaluating him.
A low point that he led the way to.
He
But
did.
yes.
He did.
But hey, hashtag
Blame
let's blame Rand.
615-737-1025, our phone number. More of your thoughts to get to on the Titans. Coming up next, we will do that. The PFL World Championship semifinals are Thursday, June the 12th at Municipal Auditorium, and you can be there. Text in the keyword match to 615-737-1025 to be entered to win a pair of VIP ringside tickets. Visit pflmma.com/schedule for more details. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063, The Game. Don't miss out on Nashville's best deals. Great offers for 312 Pizza, Beach Bend Amusement Park, and Splash Lagoon Water Park, Central Barbecue, Fog Street Lawn Club, and more. You can get them now while supplies last at thegamenashville.com/deals. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you. Robbie and Rexrode brought to you by First Horizon. Big bank muscle, small bank hustle. Visit firsthorizon.com/get-it-all. Paul Kuharsky from paulkuharsky.com will be with us later in the program, talking all things Tennessee Titans. The Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode coming up at 7:45.
Where the heck is Paul? He's supposed to be here by now. Was he pulling a Wes on us today?
He's not actually supposed to be here until 8 o'clock.
Well, but he can't. He loves it. He loves the microphone. I'm very disappointed that he's not here.
By the way, we did get confirmation that Wes Rucker is alive yesterday, so that was good.
He texted me and said he woke up, and then what did he say?
He said he cussed for an hour.
Cussed for an hour?
Yeah.
Do we believe that?
No.
He just
That's okay.
sat there, Phil Farn, Phil, fart.
I missed the radio hit. It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay, Wes.
It's all good.
I mean, granted, you've done it to us a few times, but we love you, Wes. We love you.
Granted, it has become somewhat of a pattern, but other than that.
But that's, I mean, Wes is Wes does a great job, by the way. I love Wes's columns on the Vols, and they're very good. And sometimes he takes a little bit of time to craft them. He is not a sandwich artist who just whips up something for you. And I mean, he is cooking some gourmet type stuff over here. Okay.
Let me just go ahead and put the record straight out there. Like, I am by no means really that good of a writer. Like, I'm all right.
Okay.
I'm not certainly Joe Rexrode.
Yeah.
Certainly not.
Word
Joe
Smith.
Rexrode.
Yeah.
Wordsmith. I'm not Paul Kuharsky. Don't claim to be with any of these things. I do like Wes is probably the extreme because it'll be like a Tennessee football game that ends at 4:00, and Wes is leaving Neyland Stadium at 1:30 in the morning.
General Neyland's big old house of football.
Big old house of football. He's in, and I'm always wondering. I'm like, so what are you doing? Like, why is it taking? Like, even like Kuharsky, they'll get done. The Titans game will get done at 3:30, and like Kuharsky and Andrew and all these other guys are walking out of the stadium at like 10:30 at night. I'm like, what are you guys doing all day?
Yeah. Well,
what's taking so long?
I will say, for all three of those guys, some of it is podcast /
yes,
because they do a podcast and then he goes back to writing, so that is part of it. But then
Wes is the.
But I've been there too, man. I've been there where I just
like,
can't.
wow.
I can't. I'm like so totally blocked. I sit there for 2. If I have the time, and it's like something that's going overnight or something, so I've done that.
Like,
where I just
Wes,
sit
the
there.
game ended 12 hours ago, and you just walked out.
Pontificating.
How about that?
Pondering.
It's amazing. One texter says Brian Callahan needs to be focused on not getting blanked in the second half of games this season. That would be, we talked about signs of improvement. That would be great to see this year is, some second, we talked about the adjustments part of it. Halftime, not very long in the NFL. So I don't know how much time you got to go in there to, really dial some stuff up and give your speeches and all that. But for whatever reason, the second half for this team, and it extends beyond Callahan, the last 2 years has been a major problem
3
for
years.
this team. They've got to get that figured out.
I mean, Downing got fired after 22, and that was the thing. It's been 3 straight years of them in the second halves not being able to score. Again, it's just like part of this. Like, it doesn't even make sense that some of these things carry over, other than it's just not a good football team. But that in particular is bizarre.
Weird. Yeah, it's weird. Like, it shouldn't be that consistent of a problem through different coaching staffs, right?
Yeah.
Like it would be one thing if it was just the same staff the whole time, and then you'd be like, okay, well, these guys clearly aren't very good at making adjustments. Obviously there's got to be some improvement there, but that will be one thing this year that I'm looking for of, can you guys put together some sustained offensive success in the second half of football games? Because it feels like it's been eons since we've seen that with this team.
It's weird. Is it like a Nashville thing? Now that Kuharsky's here, we can ask him. Is it like, like the food's too starchy in Nashville? Do we have too much hot chicken? Does Broadway like just naturally sap you of your endurance?
Wasn't there? I need to go. I'll go back and look as we're going through this of like what the actual total was. But wasn't there like a time last year where they were averaging like 5 points in the second half? Like, it's
something
crazy.
Like that. Yeah.
Like how bad they've been in the second half of games.
Yeah.
As we welcome in Paul Kuharsky from Kuharsky.
Hopefully he won't be this bad in the second half of this show.
I'm very offended by something you said on my way in.
Don't be a Titan.
Robbie,
you're offended by something I said?
Robbie said something. Good.
Robbie made it like
Maybe the first
Andrew is shutting down press boxes. I am the last guy in the press box by a long time. And Andrew leaves the press box. I don't know if he comes back upstairs after the press conference.
He does this. He just like disappears, right? But then he probably sends a tweet, so that's what you see.
I see all these tweets at like 10:30 at night about like taking pictures of the stadium. I'm like, what you guys been doing?
That's from the luxury of his.
He does a podcast.
Well, he does a
he does
podcast, but he does it from
thing,
home.
Right? Okay. He does the A to Z thing, doesn't he? No, but he's right because he has definitely. I mean, it seems like he's saying I'm leaving the stadium now, and it's pretty late. I assume that's because he does it A to Z thing.
On the road, he leaves the stadium late, but he leaves the stadium late because he's going to the airport to get home early.
Okay, all right. I didn't want to discount Kuharsky's
You
work
never
ethic.
know what might offend PK. My goodness,
I didn't want to discount his work
take much.
ethic. Hey, I'm just saying.
Let me tell you, there's a huge trend among sports writers. I'll go ahead and get into this. Everybody goes home. It's very eager to go home. You go over to the press room after an OTA, people come up, they get a snack, they go home.
Yeah.
Everybody has to write at home. The comforts of home for some of these people must be amazing.
Or maybe they don't want to be in the room with you. Have you thought about that one?
This is part of the job. The banter and the sitting around and saying, "Hey, what did they do on third down last year? You guys remember?" Somebody said, "Oh yeah, they were, whatever percent." That's part of it.
Yeah.
You sometimes at least hang around. But what is the draw of home? Like sports writing is a thing where you go and you cover the thing and you do the thing at the place.
Well, I think it depends on.
I got to get home to my slippers.
Well, depends on, to me, like the urgency of what you're writing, right? Obviously, if you're writing something that you're like is going to post, or you have a deadline, like thinking back to print deadlines, then you're going to stay. You're right. But if you don't, I like getting comfy. Yeah, I do have some slippers. I got jammy pants too. You gonna judge me for this?
Now we're talking.
Yeah. There's no scenario in which the 30 minutes it takes you to get home, it's better to file 30 minutes later than it is to file 30 minutes earlier. Unless, I know some things like don't post until Monday.
Yeah, like we have
but everything else you post that night. How is 30 minutes later better than 30 minutes earlier? It's not.
Well, off games typically post at night, but I know like the Athletic, there's a lot of stuff that's just going to post in the morning. It's going to be scheduled for like 7 a.m. That's just to try to get web traffic.
Years ago, when you covered the Titans,
right?
It went up that evening.
Decades ago, it went what?
It went up that evening.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So 30 minutes.
That's why I
that
stayed.
Evening is better than.
That's why I
30 minutes
stayed
later.
and endured your chattering. Yes, I know.
So is Wes the worst offender you've seen of like staying around in the press box until 12 hours after the game?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think Wes he might be like the absolute king of sports writing in this country in terms of
It's like, oh my God, the game ended 2 days ago.
And that
Wes
press
is
box,
just walking out of Neyland Stadium.
There's a chatty section. You could stay in the chatty section, or you could go down to quiet area.
Maybe so.
It's fine.
I didn't mean to offend you, PK.
People have gotten so. Yeah.
Yeah,
Don't
sorry,
Andrew's home eating a pizza when I'm still.
To be
working.
fair, he's probably putting sunglasses on and
trying to get out of there.
Yeah, trying to get out of there so Simmons doesn't see him.
He's at the airport having a nonstop conversation with somebody. He says, "What am I supposed to do? They're talking to me. I couldn't possibly say, hey, it was nice to meet you."
A lot of autographs for Andrew.
615-737-1025. Our phone number. Paul Kuharsky is in the house for the rest of the show. We'll get into all things Titans with him. Take your questions for PK as well on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. The Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode coming up next. All that ahead. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Sometimes he wakes up on the wrong side of the bed. And sometimes he's just, well, Joe.
Awkward moment. Let's do it.
This is the Rex Rant, now on Robby and Rexrode.
Some weak rant is coming.
What are you farting doing, man?
What's your words per minute? Is it high?
It's pretty high.
That's
and
good.
I am a visionary.
I smoke weed constantly.
You used so many of your words
That
right
was
there.
Ivy League right there.
That was,
That
right?
was good.
How do you know that I pee my pants that often?
If Tom Brady farted and you put it into a fragrance, I'd buy it.
Yeah, he's like, I want him to
Very
slap
violent.
the fart out of you. I'm
Yeah.
like, geez, calm down.
White Sox. Go, White Sox.
It is that time of the day. The Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode. You can check it out every morning here on the program. Joseph, the floor is yours.
Let's say it's effective. I hear the White Sox song right before I'm supposed to rant. It's an effective strategy there, Ian. All right, here's my rant. Don't call me sir. Do not call me sir. I don't like it. I don't want to hear it. And I'm going to be honest with you. When a teenager in particular calls me sir or calls Katie ma'am or calls adults sir and ma'am, I immediately suspect that this teenager is a bad egg. I do. Now, PK will understand this because he probably grew up watching this show. You know, this is like probably like prime of his childhood. Anybody familiar with the show Leave It to Beaver? There's a character on there named Eddie Haskell. Okay, have you ever seen this show? Right? Have you seen like replays? And I'm
not going to pretend like I'm a habitual viewer of it. But yes, I've seen
yes, Mrs. Cleaver, you look so lovely today, Mrs. Cleaver. Like the classic ass kiss who is a deviant. And I have come to the conclusion, and this is recently, and I'm not going to specify anybody, but I've come to the conclusion that kids who say that, there's something going on there. I don't trust them. I trust them less. Do not call me sir. Now, I grew up, I don't know about you guys. I grew up, in fact, I remember an interaction with my dad, my dad was in the Army, and I did not call him sir. Now, there was one time where a kid called their dad sir or something, like, wow, there's a kid who calls her dad sir. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. I call you dad. Maybe you guys grew up differently. I know it's a little bit of a thing in the South, or it's a little bit more sir and ma'am and all that. So it's, I want to respect that, like, bless your heart, which also, of course, has a totally opposite, like different meaning.
And also people from the South don't actually say that, but yes.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
They don't say
I've never.
say sir?
No, bless your heart. We
Oh.
do not say that all that much.
I mean, this is
Hold on. Now hold on.
That is a
That's
Hollywood
a hot
/
take.
Northern thing
Really?
that people think that we say all the time that we actually do not say all the time.
Okay, that one that throws me for
There's a
loop.
lot of things that Hollywood thinks that Southern people do that we don't actually
Do you
do.
think that bless your heart comes
I'm
from
sure there are
Hollywood?
some people that say it.
Golly! You think people are walking around saying that?
I'm sure that some people actually
like
say
Ernest?
it.
Joe's
There-
lived here for years and he doesn't.
every
understand
time
the
like
South yet.
my NHL bosses come in and they start talking about like the bless your heart thing, I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, that really doesn't happen all that much around here.
Well, it's funny because I remember I wrote a story on Crispy a couple years ago, and that was his whole thing was everybody says bless your heart around here, but they're actually saying F you. And I'm like, wow. So I don't know. I didn't realize that was a fabrication. But anyway, that's it. That one really has my wheels spinning.
Sorry.
That's okay. So did you grow up saying sir and ma'am?
I still say it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
It's a term of respect.
Your
Yeah, I
lack of
understand that.
understanding of the South on this is just baffling. Kids are brought up. I think they graduate out of Mr. Joe when they're little to saying sir. And it's a sign of respect. Now, if you've got a smarmy one that's saying it with the smirk and being a wise ass, that's a special occasion. But generally, it's a respectful thing for kids in the South. And that you don't get that, it really creates a rant about you.
Joe, your thoughts.
You're an idiot.
I mean, how long have you lived here?
I've lived here almost 10 years.
So when are you going to pick up on some of the things?
I've picked up on plenty, which is it's not that frequent. It's not that common.
Well, then you don't live in a good part of the South, and this Nolensville being overrated is picking up more steam.
Oh, so all the Ravenwood kids are like, hello, sir. Hello, ma'am. That's what you're telling me?
The kids that my kid is with are.
I don't trust it, man.
The text line is screaming at me that I'm wrong about the bless your heart thing.
Oh, okay.
Maybe it's just the people that I was around.
With the
We got
bless
some
your heart,
controversy.
which is a secondary issue here to the sir and ma'am. which is completely kids here being way more respectful than they are in the Midwest and the Northeast.
I used to get in trouble for not referring to people as sir and ma'am.
Yeah. I think, listen, I think but that is also like you are in your 30s. I know you're young relative to the rest of this panel right now, but that's also you in your 30s. I don't think that it is as widespread, which again, to me, like this, some of this is just your own personal interactions with specific people.
Yeah.
I think there's some BS around it. Okay.
I
don't want it. Don't call me sir.
I bet that you don't mind it from your daughter's crowd as much as you mind it from your son's crowd.
You know,
ding, 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 ding,
no,
ding, ding.
No, actually,
Go ahead, admit.
No, I mean, I think you think you're onto something. You're actually really not. You're not.
Why do you hate it so much? Does it make you? Is it just the trust thing, or does it make you feel old?
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah. That one may be. That may be it. That may be some of it. But I mean, I just find it to be often disingenuous. I do. I find it to be. It's like I don't know. It's hard to explain other than when I hear it now, I'm like, all right, look at that kid. You know, I that may be weird.
You look at all kids with suspicion.
Well,
because your
that's
kid gets into a little mischief.
Who said that?
I'm saying.
Why? I don't know what you're talking about.
Don't know.
I can't recall any. I don't know.
I'm getting smoked on the text line.
Are you?
Bless your heart thing.
Oh,
smoked.
Okay.
I'm just maybe it's a generation.
That did surprise me. That did surprise me a lot.
There's not one person that I grew up with that uses that phrase.
It's
not one.
Old lady thing, isn't it?
Yeah, like it's an old lady thing. And as Mark from Hendersonville points out, it's more of an ironic thing than an actual, like they use that in conversation thing.
They force it into conversation.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I thought it was just kind of like a rip, right?
Yeah. I mean, it was never designed to be like actual bless your heart.
See, if I was all in here.
I do feel like Flo on Mel's Diner used to say it.
Yeah.
And kiss my grits. And bless your heart.
If I was all
Kiss
in
my grits
here,
underrated.
next week would be a wall to wall welcome to the South Joe week.
Oh, yeah.
Lord, there we go.
They say sir and ma'am in South Detroit.
Place that doesn't exist.
South Detroit doesn't exist geographically.
There's not a south part of Detroit.
It's just
north,
east,
south,
and west.
east.
And
Or,
then
excuse me, north, east, west.
Like I told you.
It's a flat Earth situation.
Like I told you.
If you walk to the south, you just fall off.
Do you want to hear a fact or no? It's called Downriver. It's not called South Detroit.
But
Dennis says,
geographically, is it the southern?
but
part
you
of
don't
Detroit?
call it South Detroit.
Talk to Steve Perry.
Yeah, okay. Dennis says,
It's a
I thought I
damn
was.
good song.
Dennis thought it is a good song. I was against being called sir by my son's friends until one called me by my first name. So let's just do sir. Yeah, that's
So he should be singing "Born and Raised in" what's the neighborhood?
born and raised downriver.
Downriver.
Born and raised downriver. See, it works.
Not nearly.
Got a good ring to it.
And then it would have been accurate. Would have been a better song.
Hair Metal Henry says the last time I heard "Bless Your Heart" was watching the Andy Griffith Show. So yeah, I'm with him. I'm convinced this does not exist as much as people think it does.
I understand that
Get me.
show is like free. There are no rights to it, but how is it still on TV?
Oh, don't be hating on the Andy Griffith Show. Come on.
I
You seen some of the stuff
What about Leave It to
now?
Beaver?
I occasionally catch MASH, which I love, one of the greatest shows of all time, and then that comes on afterwards, and I can't. When the songs come on, I can't
You know,
mute it to change the channel fast enough.
When I think Andy Griffith, I think Paul Kuharsky. He's
And I
kind
always-
of the first one that comes to mind.
I always still get confused between Griffith and Griffin, so I
Griffin?
don't say.
I
it
do know
because I
a
don't
lot of
wanna
people
appear
growing
foolish.
up that referred to it as the Andy Griffin Show.
Who loved
I'm like, I don't think it's his name.
Gino says, if you're brought up in a military family, you say sir. I was brought up in a military family. We did not say sir, man. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I understand that it is thought of as a respectful,
You are
courteous
discharged.
title.
You are discharged, sir.
I'm not offended by people
You
holding the
can't
door for
handle
me.
the truth.
Gino says, you sound like somebody from California. Like, I'm sorry, man. I look, I think in some cases it can be very disingenuous. okay?
Discharged. You're
I can't
discharged.
wait till the next time somebody refers to Rexrode as sir in public and he just is like,
Snaps.
yeah, just screw you. Get out of here.
dishonorably discharged, and we don't want to see anything militaristic about anything.
Call me dude.
Whatever your dad gave you that was a military thing in your house.
I mean, we were the disciplined household. Don't get me wrong.
I wanted
Like, it was
that
respectful.
doesn't sound like it.
Oh,
Doesn't
you
sound
can
like
be
it.
respectful and call someone dad.
What was your dad's first
Yes,
name?
Dad. Tom.
Walking around calling him Tom.
I did not call him Tom.
Thomas.
I called him
Whatever
Dad.
you say, Thomas.
That's enough out of you.
Hey,
That's
Thomas,
enough.
I'm going back to bed. I'm not doing these errands, Thomas.
615.
I like my home and my slippers.
737-1025.
I'll be back early because it sure as hell ain't staying in the press box.
We'll get into all things Tennessee Titans with Paul Kuharsky coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063, The Game.
Stand back. There's a hurricane coming through.
Paul Kuharsky from paulkuharsky.com with us the next hour, talking all things Tennessee Titans, taking your thoughts for PK on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Jacob on the text line to you, Joe, says, probably would have gotten your real ID faster if you called people sir or ma'am.
Well done.
Maybe be a little bit more polite moving forward. You can expedite some of these things.
Well done. Well done. I got to read this one. This says, come on, Paul, more respectful than the rest of the country. I'm from Chicago, lived here 18 years. The sir and ma'am crap is so fake. Just like saying I'm blessed. It's part of the fake Southern niceness. People are more real and nicer in the Midwest and Northeast.
Yeah, you know where people are real nice?
The Northeast is a stretch, man.
New York and Chicago, where all the nice people live.
No, I don't disagree with there being a level of fakeness to it. I think there is a level of sincerity to it with kids. And with the kids that I know.
You believe the children are our future.
I do believe. I've
Treat them
said
well
that.
and let them lead the way.
I've said that time and time again. I came to do an afternoon show with you after doing a elementary school career fair.
That's right.
You guys bring me what you're doing for the children.
That's right. Not as much as PK,
Yeah.
apparently.
Scaring them away from.
Nobody's asking me to talk to elementary school children. Not happening.
And you'd talk to them about your golf swing.
I would. Probably would.
Scare the crap out of them.
PK,
See how you see the bounce on this wedge?
Yeah, you guys wouldn't believe the loft this thing gets. So,
hey, look at this video. Chase McCabe swinging a golf club, kids. Let's gather around.
Let's talk about all the things that are wrong here.
That'd probably get the kids going at that point. So, PK, we had the Calvin Ridley conversation earlier. A good piece that you put up at paulkuharsky.com about some of Ridley's comments yesterday, some of your observations from Ridley on the field. And it just got me thinking, we've talked with you before about how Ridley has started slow, certainly last year with the Titans. We had Michael DeRocco on last year talking about his slow start with Jacksonville and how much better that needs to get this year. And one of the questions I threw out there, if it does, what does that say about Cam Ward? What would that tell you about Cam Ward, his ability to get on the same page quickly with Calvin Ridley when Trevor Lawrence and Will Levis have not really been able to do so in each of the past 2 years?
I mean, it's certainly a key to this offense for the best receiver to have a quicker, good connection with his top receiver and with the top pick in the draft. It needs to be better, faster. I think because Ridley did get going, I think at the end of the season we said, well, he's not great because he'll run out of bounds short of the marker and say he thought a guy was there when a guy's not there. But I think also he bought himself out of the miserable start, which we know was partially Levis, but which also, history came to tell us was definitely partly Ridley. First 6 games, 12 catches on 36 targets for 183 yards and 1 touchdown. That's 6 games. I mean,
it's not good.
Titans have a lot of guys. I'm trying to get a picture of this dude on TV.
Yeah, like, what are you doing with your
because
phone,
he looks like somebody. 12 of 36 targets, 183 yards and 1 score. No, Easton Freeze. And I didn't. It's a shame.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
It's a shame there's a second person on earth that has that look. So I wanted.
Dang.
I wanted to document it.
Taking strays for Easton. Coming from male model Paul Kuharsky.
There's 3 really. You got Eddie Munster, you got Easton Freeze, and you got this.
Hey, yeah.
So I got a picture. I documented it. I could send it to Easton, and now he could take shots at me on his podcast to counteract it. It was all in good fun. Easton Freeze, a guy that's not afraid to stay in a press box for a little while there. I gave him some credit to go along with the condemnation.
I thought you said condom. Like, what? Okay, condemnation.
Just listen to the words.
You and the big words from the Ivy League. I
Listen
tell
to
you
the
what,
words.
you gotta stay with the whole
Listen to
word.
the word. I didn't do any.
Remain invested.
I didn't do any sirring or mamming.
Here you go, Easton. Yeah, be careful out there.
When I was in New York City.
Oh, good God.
Joe, ask a Titans
I
question.
might have called the professor sir in an effort to fare better.
So anyway, Ridley.
Great question.
Yeah.
I think we've exhausted the Ridley. I will say I led off with this story with a Good throw. Later, there were two, non-connections that show you that they still have work to do. He overthrew him. Cam overthrew him on a deep ball on a series of 3rd and 10s. He rolled out, threw something short to DK, overthrew Ridley, and then had Prochet dive for a ball that he could have caught that he didn't come down with. So that was more of a slice of something that wasn't terrific overall.
So, I mean, one thing I do wonder about, I realize he's 30 and he'll be 31 as the season goes on here. But he's had such a slow start. You went through the numbers last year with the Titans. He had a slow start with Jacksonville, and he still ended up in both years with more than 1,000 yards. So if they get that problem corrected, can he still be, I mean, I'm not saying that he's going to ever be again a 90 catch, 1,374 yard guy like he was in his breakout year in Atlanta. But could he be a 75 catch, 1,200 yard guy for the Titans? Does he still have that skill set in him at this point?
I don't know if it'll go to 75 catches based on their determination to spread it around. Maybe if he's getting that many balls, I think that would mean you're really executing a downfield offense. And then the yards would come because he averaged 15.7, if I'm not mistaken, which is healthy. You said he caught 12 or 17 fewer passes last year.
12
Came
fewer,
out
yep.
with a yard more than he had the year before in Jacksonville.
He's
Didn't
15.9.
Levis is better than Trevor Lawrence.
He was 15.9 a catch, which
No.
was actually the best number of his career.
Yeah.
15.9 a catch.
I mean, if you could get him to 1,200, that'd be nice. You guys were mentioning the idea of 1,000-yard receiver doesn't mean as much as it used to. You're making the mistake that I've made. I finally beat this into my head, still thinking that the 17-game schedule is kind of new. It's been 2021 already. So guys have been amassing these 17-game season stats for a while already. And so I think we're never going to not think 1,000 yards is some kind of benchmark for a receiver, but it's really not that impressive, nor is 1,000-yard running back season. Right. So
It's something though.
It's a nice round number, but
it's not nothing.
When you average it out, it's not great.
But you also
I'll
assume
do that math in my head.
But you
right
also
now.
like how many guys play the full 17. That's another part of it. So yeah, it's not. You're gonna have. You expect you're gonna have a couple games of like
58
very
a
little production.
game.
Yeah, I mean that's.
That's not bad. 58.
Yeah,
a
I
game.
mean that's.
I'd take 58 a game.
Right.
From a Titans receiver.
So who's going to be the second leading receiver on the Tennessee Titans?
Lockett. I think Lockett still, and I say this without having seen him. He hasn't been on the field for these 2 practices, but he was still doing things. And I just think, again, I'm hopeful for them that these 4th-round guys pan out, but I just think, and maybe somebody emerges, but I think it's a lot to put big expectations on 4th-round draft picks. And then I think it's really a lot to put big expectations on 4th-round draft pick wide receivers who play for the Tennessee Titans.
I've got a question that we threw out there yesterday that I would love to get PK's thoughts on coming up next. We'll do that. Take your thoughts for Paul Kuharsky on all things Titans at 615-737-1025. Robby and Rexrode, 1025-1063, The Game.
I'm comfortable all the time, man.
Did you change, weight or anything like
Oh,
that?
yeah. Yes, sir.
What are your expectations for yourself and your team?
Be the best that I was last year. Be better than I was last year.
Talk about focusing maybe on weight. Are you down compared to last year?
Oh, yeah. Yes, sir. Ask Callahan, man.
Yeah, okay.
There you go.
Enough where you feel it, though, out here?
Feel what?
You feel lighter and faster?
Oh, I feel great.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Did you ask JC about what his plan was? Did you guys have similar plans, or you?
I'm a grown man. He do his own thing, man. I do mine.
Tavandre, I saw Sebastian was doing some things like yoga, it seemed, or hot yoga of some kind this offseason. Did you do anything kind of out of the ordinary or maybe outside the box?
I tried hot yoga. I tried hot yoga.
How did it go?
It was all right. Try Pilates, too. I ain't going back to Pilates.
Tavandre Sweat, not a big fan of Pilates. Not a big fan of the hot yoga. Apparently he's lost some weight. We'll see what that ends up looking like on the field for the Titans this year. PK, we threw this out there yesterday. I did a Titans buy or sell, and one of the questions I asked was, will there be a Titan that has 7 sacks or more this year? Which is really not a very big number, but I'm looking around at their roster right now. Arden Key has never reached that number. Draymond Jones has never reached that number. You've got Femi Oladejo coming in, who's a rookie that just started playing the position last year. Jeffrey Simmons has reached it. His season high is 8.5, which was back in 2021, but he's been at 5.5 and 5 the last 2 years. So is he going to go reach it? And then you've got Sweat, who they're hoping to get more production rushing the passer this year, but he had 3 quarterback hits a year ago and 1 sack. So I'm looking at that, and I don't feel great about anybody reaching that number, and it makes me wonder where in the world the sacks are coming from this year from the Titans. What say you? Does a Titan reach 7 sacks on the year this year?
I mean, if I had to bet on it, I'd say no. Simmons had 8.5 and 7.5 back to back, but that's going back to 2022. He'd be probably the best chance unless Oladejo comes, from kind of nowhere and has an outburst. I think their hope for sacks is 3 from everybody on the roster, something like that. Some guys have 6 and some, somebody like Ali Gay chips in with 3. Justin Harold chips in with 3 and some blitzers chip in with 3, and it mounts in that regard. I think I've heard them say that they missed 20 last year. And so if they're better finishers, that would help if they're in range. But, who missed those 20 last year? I would guess Harold Landry missed 8.
I also have no context. I don't really know, what is that a big number? I don't know.
20?
Yeah. So it's like 1 a game, a little bit more than 1 a game missing a sack. I mean, I don't know. It seems like it's a relatively common occurrence, isn't it?
Yeah.
And also, how do you judge missing a sack? That's where it gets subjective too with the film watchers at PFF and whatever.
I think this is the film watchers in their building judging sacks that they should have
That's
had.
the Titans saying they missed 20.
Yeah, I think so. But I mean, it's the biggest concern on the team.
Yeah.
How are they going to rush the passer? And the other thing, I don't know if forgive me if we talked about this last week. They're talking about being bigger, and being bigger gives you a more direct path. I mean, we've heard about this interior thing, but now they're talking about it as an exterior thing, an edge thing. If you bowl a guy over and can bully him, you have a little bit more of a direct path in some ways. I don't know. I think that it's a pretty direct path if a bendy guy just runs past somebody into the backfield. And I understand them talking about being bigger and more physical, and that helps you set the edge and all of that. But the number one reason you don't have a bendy edge is because the best, and you do have one in Arden Key, but bendy edges who burn the edge and get to the quarterback are elite players, and you don't have access to that. Right. So then you say, well, we'll be big. Well, you might have wanted to be bigger, but trust me, if you could add a elite bendy edge to your bigger group, you would. You couldn't. because you didn't have a draft pick that would get you one, and none of them come to market.
Tom
Right?
Brady, one of the greatest quarterbacks in AFC East history, was always bothered much more by interior pass rush. I'm just saying. By the way, does Sweat look like? Does he look thinner? Does he look? I mean, it look about the same, or
I'm not very good at assessing bodies with shirts on in terms of
you need
weight loss.
naked bodies to assess them better.
I do. Shirts off. Yeah, you can put that on the record.
No shirts and skins out there, please.
Even Latham,
Take off your robe.
Even Latham with his shirt off the other day, last week, I said, if he had 30 more pounds on than that last year, I mean, I missed the fact that he was super fat. Because
they were talking 370, right?
gigantic.
Yeah, 370 is
That's
big.
enormous. Yeah.
Holy, I don't know. Like
I mean, there was a sneaky line from Callahan yesterday about Latham and them things kind of getting away from him yesterday, last season.
We said that last week. You said that again yesterday?
Bill Callahan.
The other Callahan.
Okay.
Bill Callahan.
Everybody's got to make sure they talk about Latham's extra biscuits last year.
I think
thank God he lost some of that weight.
Sweat's talking about being quicker, and I think, Sweat needs to rush the passer better. I've been on this, and I think ultimately whether Sweat rushes the passer better or not determines whether Sweat was worth the 38th pick in the draft, because if he's just a big run stuffer. But when he was out on the field, I saw a ginormous man still. I mean, he's never going to not look enormous, no matter what he loses weight-wise.
He's not going to look like that Jelly Roll bobblehead right there.
Because of the build of his head. We just had a great conversation about, do they make fat bobbleheads? Because the Jelly Roll one is not. And we understand he's losing weight and everything, but at the time the bobblehead was made by the Predators, this is not an accurate reflection of his body type.
I want anatomically correct bobbleheads.
To
a point, not like totally, but you know what I'm saying.
Found, and to Robby's credit, he decided Bartolo Colon was the perfect person to look up. And the Bartolo Colon bobblehead, he's fat.
It's
he's
perfect.
swinging a bat.
Got some
and he's
girth
fat.
to it. Yeah.
It's perfect.
Did you look for Prince Fielder?
I did. It's not quite as good as the Cologne one.
Svelte.
Yeah, it's a little bit more svelte.
I think it's a
Cecil?
financial thing. That you put more meat on the bobblehead, it costs
Costs a
more
little
money.
bit more. I think there's something to that. Going back to Sweat. So we thought last year heading into the season that he and Simmons together had a chance to be one of the strengths of the team. If it's not the strength of the defense this year, Paul, I don't know what their path to being a good defense is, because we just went through the edge rushers. They're not getting, unless Oladejo comes in and is just unbelievable right from the start, and maybe he is, we'll see. But they're not going to generate a ton of pressure on the quarterback based on the edge rusher group that they've got right now. So if Simmons and Sweat aren't really, really good together, I don't know that I can see a path where this defense is any good this year.
Well, it's a back-to-front defense for the second year in a row.
And I don't know that that's the best way to operate.
Oh, no, it's not. I mean, I don't think anybody sets out to build that way. I don't think they talk about building that way. You build from the trenches. And look, I think Simmons and Sweat will be very good against the run because they've got better support around them now. I think Cody Barton's an upgrade there, and these big edges will defend the run better. I think they're certain to set the edge better, don't you? I mean, how can they not? You make sure Key's not out there on too many obvious rundowns, and that wasn't Landry's strength by any means, though he certainly worked hard at it. And I think you fare better there with Femi Oladejo and Draymond Jones. Those two guys should be able to do good work in the run game, but you force them into passing situations, and then you can't rush the passer. Fewer mobile quarterbacks, I think, on their radar this season, which is a good thing for them. I think the corners are going to be better than we think, with or without Snead. I like the group, and I think the depth at safety now is significantly better with Winston. But you can only ask him to hold up for so long.
You're kind of pumping some sunshine today.
I like the corner. I like the corner group. I like these.
Even without Snead, man, it's hard for me to see them being effective without Snead.
I think when you look at and this is small sample size, but Denard Wilson, what he did with a guy like Baker,
yeah,
and it's a very small sample size, but like Judy Lawley's getting his hands on a lot of balls now, and I think has upside in the second year. And they paid some of these undrafted rookies competitive money to get guys that were wanted by other teams in order, because they knew they needed depth there. And so, and this guy from Dallas, a veteran from Dallas, who's got a tough last name, who's a very long guy who, like, if you look at him lining up, you're like, whoa, that guy's got some serious length. I think they've got some things to work with at corner. They're not everyday names by any means, but I think they're guys who can go out there and make some play.
Philip on the text line wondering if Jalen Harrell will have any impact this year.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be an impactful fifth edge.
A lot of talk about him in the preseason last year to generate not very much in the regular season.
Man. Boy, he was a training camp. I don't even remember him necessarily being great or anything, but there was just a lot of
one big second half in a home preseason game.
Yeah, there you go. That's enough. That's enough.
Sometimes it is.
August hero, man.
You guys probably talked about him for 3 days.
3 days.
You guys, and you're minimalists compared to everybody else in the electronic media.
When we weren't talking about Mason Kinsey.
Yeah, we had to really get in on that front. 615-737-1025. More coming up next with PK, Robby, and Rexrode. 1025-1063 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Got some tickets to give away to see Lil Baby at Bridgestone Arena this Sunday night. Be caller 615-737-1025. Caller 6 will win a pair of tickets to see Lil Baby at Bridgestone Arena coming up on Sunday night.
How little?
You're a big
is
little baby
Lil
guy.
Baby?
You're a big little baby guy, aren't you?
Big little baby.
Huge little baby guy.
Lil Baby, according to AI, 5'8".
That's not that little.
Yeah, but that's. I mean, that warrants the name. I think 5'8" is. I mean, 5'3" would be better.
I
but
want Lil
5'8"
Baby to be, a bigger version of Mini Me. That's where that's what the name suggests.
Yeah, take it up with him on Sunday night.
Yeah.
Small baby. By definition, what you're telling me is you're a small baby.
Really should go big baby because a big baby would be more like, well, not 5'8", but
And again, not to be confused with Da Baby,
right?
Who's somebody completely different
from Charlotte.
Little
baby's
from Atlanta.
Are you into that?
Nope, not.
I
familiar.
love how you're done pretending that you're into some of this stuff.
Do you want to see my iTunes?
No.
Yeah, the Wu-Tang album came out when I was 18. You freaking hobgoblin.
Hobgoblin. Whoa, these insults are really flying.
It's a new one. He's come up with.
You look like a hobgoblin.
Burned. I look like a hobgoblin.
Yeah. So just because you're 73,
We're going for looks. We're going after looks now.
Oh yeah, you never do that. You talk about my gout. Just because you're
That's
70,
not looks. Gout is not a looks disease.
By the
It's
way,
not a
our
disease of
thoughts are
looks.
with.
Well, that's not true because your foot gets like all inflamed.
Yeah,
Our
but I
thoughts
can't
are with
see it.
Paul Bissonnette of TNT as he goes on his NHL coverage here, who is apparently battling gout in the Stanley Cup Final.
He said he has 2 steaks every day. So there you go.
Our best wishes to him and his family.
Just so you know, PK, because you're 73 years old, see, there are people who are younger than you who like hip hop. It's okay to like other kinds of music than Bruce Springsteen.
How much older?
It's absolutely okay.
Okay,
but some of it is for show.
How much older?
In the case of you.
Okay.
Is PK than you? 1 year? 2 years?
Yeah, he makes it like I'm
No.
super old.
No.
What? How? I'm asking. How?
He's at least 5 years older than me.
I'm 56.
Okay, so you're 5 years older than me.
All right.
Wow. 5 years doesn't mean much when you get to our age, Chief. I'm 5.
I'll take it.
I'm
I'll
5
take
years
that. I'll take the 5 years.
I'm 5 years older and gout free, which rounds me down and you up.
That's true, but I don't. Have,
That's true.
I don't have chronic.
Next topic.
Chronic irascibility syndrome.
PK, big deal or no deal at all that Kevin Zeitler's not on the field. I wanted to get your thoughts on this because you've made it clear you want no time, no struggles, no excuses for the Titans' offensive line heading into year one. Zeitler's not out there.
Must
right
be
now.
great right away.
They're really easing him in. I think, last week, I understand. This week, I start to wonder a little bit. They say he doesn't need anything. Well, what about the guy? What about Latham with him?
Yeah.
I mean, they don't only have so much time. I would think you'd want them to start to work next to each other to some degree. So not a big deal, but not zero deal either.
Yeah, the more I think about it, I think Trevor Matich's theory makes sense.
Maybe
there's
there's just something
thing,
nagging.
like, not worth doing it.
Could be, but
right?
I don't care about it much at all from just purely the Zeitler perspective. But I think what he said is exactly right. I mean, you've got a center that may or may not be available by the time the season starts, and you've got a right tackle now that he's never played with, and even Dan Moore, right? Like you've got a left tackle on the other side that's never played with Kuharsky. I understand that they're not going through pass sets where it's physicality with shoulder pads on and everything right now. So there's a limited amount of work that you can get that's meaningful for an offensive line, but you can go through some communication. You can look and recognize what's going on and kind of go through some of your checks that way. I'd prefer to see him out there. It's not the world's biggest deal, but I think we're also extra sensitive to it with how bad that offensive line's been the last 3 years. And if you're a Titans fan that feels that way, I can't blame you.
Also, I mean, this guy's a key part of this football team, right? I don't think anybody will say any differently. And I know fans out there don't give a bleep about this angle, but I'm never going to stop pushing for access. We haven't met the guy. Guy hadn't done anything on camera or in front of a microphone. So this is a key member If they don't push him out next week, we won't have met him before the start of training camp. A guy who signed on March 13th and is a vital leader and key cog to this.
That's bizarre. That's weird. New head of comms. Have you pissed him off yet?
He's not here yet. He may
okay.
pass through next week. He knows who's who and what's what. I've texted with him. He's going to be fine.
Good to know.
Well, he'll be fine if he does what you just said.
Well, look.
Does what? Actually, I'm told that he's very good at getting guys to do things. So
good.
I suspect Kevin Zeitler, if Everett Gearlings was here running the show, we would have heard from Kevin Zeitler months ago.
Yeah, I mean they're going to act like, Brian Callahan said it with the Dan Moore thing, that it wasn't by design. It really wasn't, something that they thought all that much about. It is weird though. Like this just doesn't really happen.
The longer it goes, the more it
with
feels
other
like it's
teams.
by design.
Yeah.
And you know how to make it not feel like it's by design?
Just put it out there.
Walk the guy out.
So since we're talking about offensive linemen, I did want to get you on something, PK. Just I sort of pondered this in the 6 o'clock hour. Yep, Nicholas Petitfrere gone, done already.
What do you have? Like 3 weeks?
So
yeah, it's less than a month.
I want to know if you thought the same thing I did. I know we both talked last year about, it's possible that he could be okay at right tackle. We were wrong. He wasn't. It wasn't 100% guaranteed he wouldn't be. If so, then like guys like Bill Callahan, who, knows offensive line play a little bit, probably wouldn't have like gone that way.
Yeah.
So talking at NPF, I always thought he was a smart kid, a pretty humble kid, seemed like he had his head on straight and all that stuff. And then like this to me, and he's too talented. He is talented enough to be in the league, to not be cut in June. Is it just as simple as just completely wrong priorities? I mean, it's just hard. It really is a befuddling thing. I know Titans fans are just glad that he's not on their team anymore, but it still just blows my mind that it got this bad for him this fast.
I do think generationally there is more potential for guys to kind of lose their love of ball or see like potential to do other stuff. I don't know. The guy clearly doesn't like football as much as he did at the beginning. Maybe satisfied with that rookie contract, but I do see more guys that are less motivated by getting to that second contract, which used to be everything.
The
right?
math tells you that's not some smart way to approach
It's
things.
really not.
I mean,
No.
I mean,
No, but I mean, don't you find even outside of football, I think there are people of that age. This is somewhat of a national trend, right? Who aren't going to bust it. Like, and it's odd that it's happening at football, because football, the money is life changing.
Yeah.
Right. But other people at that age, I don't know if you listen to how they kind of pose things, they're like, I'm not going to give my life to work the way I've watched my parents. The trade-off isn't worth it. And I want time to whatever, play video games, go fishing, hang out with my friends in a way that I didn't see my parents have a fair exchange for it. Now, how they're going to wind up paying their mortgages and doing all that, I don't know that they've figured out. And I marvel at it. For Nicholas Petitfrere, that's not going to be an issue if he's smart with the money he's already made. But I think generally in that age bracket, there are more people willing to not do it.
I'm just going to go fishing, sir. That's what they're saying. It's like the Andy Griffith show.
Don't you see it?
No. Believe me. Yeah. I mean,
It's hard to figure it out.
We probably don't have time for this conversation. I start ripping on the younger generations. But yeah, I mean, I think there's something.
I'm going to talk about sir and ma'am and yell at the youngins today.
I have a lot of struggles with it, but there's something to be admired about what they're thinking in their core.
I respect the idea of trying to have life balance.
Yes, I don't know how they
respect that.
come to terms with it in terms of making their life function. God bless them if they figure it out.
Bless their hearts. I hope they can figure that out.
They've got the priorities figured out in terms of work-life balance.
Yeah.
I just don't know if they have it figured out in terms of pay the bill balance.
It's odd.
Get out of the house balance.
It's odd to see an offensive tackle get cut in June, right? Like that's just you don't like. And I know they made a corresponding move, so I get it.
Yeah, there's bottom of the roster shuffling
Right.
going on everywhere. And I mean,
So
Micah Bernard just got cut here. And Nicholas Petit Frere is now like Micah Bernard.
Yeah. I mean, I would assume he ends up somewhere else here in camp coming up, gets another shot. But like everybody, like people bring up the Andre Dillard example of like he's just bouncing around because he's a tackle. Andre Dillard's also a former first round pick, and Petit Frere is a third round pick. Now, there's only a limitation to what that should mean. I get that.
Yeah.
But people keep thinking they can figure out Andre Dillard.
But what it does mean is that they are both talented. They both have the talent to be in this league and at least be in a rotation, like be a 2 in this league.
To your point, though, about
not.
what we thought about NPF a couple years ago,
Yeah.
I don't think we ever would have said, well, these guys are both in a couple of years going to go sign with San Francisco in the offseason after things have gone wrong for them. And we would have said, oh, Dillard's going to outlast NPF with an offseason contract.
All right.
Hey, maybe his fantasy football stuff's going better than we think.
That's what David from Watertown, maybe he's making enough money gambling, being a fantasy sports analyst. I mean, it's possible, but there's a lot of fantasy sports analysts out there. I don't know that NPF's insight is that great.
Has anybody seen it?
I have not seen it. I have not.
I mean, the only time I've ever heard about him being a fantasy analyst is when it came to light that he was a fantasy.
Someone I used to work with did work with him last year, but I didn't catch any
How'd
of
that go?
They were excited to have him.
That's good.
Why?
I don't know.
Why?
It's great to have him on. 615-737-1025. Our phone number. One more segment with PK coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025-1063 The Game. Robby and Rexrode brought to you by First Horizon. Big bank muscle, small bank hustle. Visit firsthorizon.com/get-it-all. Paul Kuharsky with us here on the program. PK, your impressions of Cam Ward to this point in the off-season workouts that you have seen?
He's fine. He's okay. He's not doing anything dazzling. I don't know that you expect anything dazzling in the first two practices that you see. Yesterday, a couple drops that hurt him, and one miscommunication. Pretty decisive. Throws a nice ball that arrives in a hurry. But seems to have a good head on his shoulders about progressing gradually. Pumped up the tires of Ridley in a big way, which I think probably is a good thing to do in terms of the things that we talked about in terms of needing to strike a good relationship with Ridley right away and get a good chemistry going with him. Spreads the ball around a lot, which I think is inevitable with this. Doesn't check down a ton, which you like. So I think things are progressing. I think next week will be far more telling. We'll see 3 days in a row, and the tempo will go way up for the mini camp. Jeff will be there, presumably.
Did you see those videos of him working out? He's pumping some iron.
Haven't seen them.
Very strategically placed. I saw those.
Yeah. How about that?
It's like, wow, these videos of Jeffrey Simmons working out are coming out. How about that?
It's like, whoa, this dude's lifting weights. Nice.
He was.
What are you blocked?
It could be.
Was it on Twitter?
It was.
Yeah, I am blocked.
Oh yeah. Did we talk about this last week?
Not last week.
Well, we talked about Deion Lewis.
No, we talked about Deion Lewis last
much
week.
less important. This week, Jeff Simmons.
Well, here's one thing I'd like to get your opinions on, both of you. So Callahan was talking about this yesterday. He was talking about Cam Ward and essentially the messaging to the quarterbacks in practice of, hey, let it rip. Try some things out in practice. And if it doesn't work, then we'll go back to the drawing board and all that stuff. I hear that, and I'm like, okay, I kind of like that. I also see where you could look at that and you could hear that and you can be like, well, how about you practice like you want to see them play in a game and operate the way you want to see them play in a game at that point and make the throws that you're looking for in a game setting rather than just what you can get away with in practice. So where do you come down on that? Joe, we'll start with you.
Yeah, well, and this discussion was definitely part of the Levis, I think a year ago, right?
It was
a little bit.
part of the when Tannehill was throwing interceptions all around camp.
Yeah.
And he was like, how much of this is just him inaccurate with the ball and how much of it is maybe them trying something?
It's like, to me, with Tannehill, because I remember getting heated about this. I mean, with Tannehill, like at that point, he was a proven QB. He had just had like the best combination of yards per attempt and completion percentage in 30 years in the NFL. So, like for him, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Just see if you can fit that one in. Try this, that. I'm kind of with you on, like, at some point you need to get to let's run an offense and let's make the right choices over and over again and make that repeatable.
He's saying that, Callahan, but there's no evidence of it going on in any kind of big way. I mean, he's not taking any extreme risks, and he's not throwing picks. So in practice, you can say he's testing some boundaries. Probably when you look at film, well, this throw was tighter than we'd want you to make in a game because it's a little risky. But I'm not watching those practice sessions and thinking he's pushing any boundaries.
Reckless.
Yeah. In any extreme way. So I think it's fine what they're doing and what he's saying. And they're not, he's not doing anything extreme by any means.
There you go.
So to the degree that they're pushing that message on him, they're not over pushing it.
Okay. Yeah. I understand it. Like, I saw some Titans fans react to that a little bit yesterday and was like, that sounds good, but I'd like to see him operate the offense first. I agree with you. Like next week, pace ramping up. I mean, I don't think you expect Cam Ward to be dazzling anybody right now. Just get your work in, get better. And
I'm not thinking in terms of overall dazzling. I do think I don't know. I was thinking about Vince Young and Marcus. And I think it's still early, but I think those guys would have made a play or two where you would have been like, oh, that makes me feel like he is of his status.
You just going to ignore Jake Locker? He didn't make any plays in camp?
And Jake Locker wasn't good.
He was not.
But I think with those two guys, like by the end of next week, I would have seen something that made you go, wow.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious if by the end
I'll
of
be
next
shocked
week,
if you don't next week.
we'll see something from Cam Ward that makes you go, wow.
I'm sure there will be, right? I mean, you've seen enough of it in college. But then, like, with all this talk about, taking the risks and stuff like that, to me, another big thing is how often is he fooled or not fooled? Like, how clearly is he seeing things? And even if he is a little too risky with something, if he still knows what it is, and that's a difference between, oh, crap, I thought the linebacker wouldn't be there, right?
Yeah, he seems to have pretty clear vision to this point in the very little bit that we've seen. I have to make that point. They've gone
June
3
football
times.
Sucks,
They've
man.
gone 3 times a week for these last 2 weeks, and we've seen, 2.
Hey, J-Rob's been on Good Morning Football all week.
Yeah.
Is he starting? Is he launching a media career?
Well, what I've heard is that there may be a podcast coming.
Okay.
But I think for most people this was a complete surprise. I don't think NFL Network is calling him and saying, "Hey, John, would you do this?" based on the fact that he's done nothing. So I would think it's his people reaching out and saying, "Hey, we're looking for an opportunity."
They're leaning in on it. They
And
had
they
John
slotted
Robinson
him.
story time, and they listed all these.
Yeah.
I mean, we
Has he
were
been
doing
good?
the
Has
show.
anybody
Well, we were
seen
doing
it?
the show, so I haven't really been able
I know,
to listen.
but like Titans Twitter has not been clipping and putting up anything. I think he's talked very little Titans from what I've heard.
Yeah.
And so if he's saying
Jags, apparently,
if he's saying good stuff about other clever stories or whatever about other stuff, Titans Twitter has not shown an interest in sharing that stuff. I'm glad he's out there. I think, rehabilitating your image and to get out there, TV certainly doesn't hurt you. I mean, it propelled John Lynch, it propelled Mike Mayock, and maybe it propels John Robbins.
The J-Rob and Rand podcast. What
What if
think?
Rand had John on, or John had Rand on? That would be all time.
It would be
Titans appointment,
And just
viewing.
never say one word about the Titans the entire time.
Yeah.
Just
He's
completely
back on
avoid the
today.
topic.
Here's our,
Look at that
he's
guy.
doing the whole week.
He's
Here's
got
our-
some beautiful hair,
on the J-Rob
Look at
and
that hair.
Rand
Look at that
show.
lettuce.
Today on the J-Rob and Rand show, our thorough examination of the Bears.
Probably not.
And we welcome in our first guest on the J-Rob and Rand show. It's Amy Adams-Strunk. Amy, good to hear from you. How are things going?
Well, bless your heart, both of you.
Thank you, ma'am.
That's how you make it go full circle.
PK,
Don't lock the box. Be sure to lock your lock.
Thank you, sir, for being with us today here on the
Thank
program.
you.
Yeah, there
Jason
we go.
Big Joe up next. You're listening to 102.5, 106.3 The Game.